All right, guys, this is JE Live. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and joining me is actually my co-host of Yankees Unloaded. If you've been with this channel for a while, you know this guy. If you've followed me for a while, you know this guy because it's not just Yankees, and I know a lot of you are Dodgers fans, and quite honestly, I want to hear it. We're not talking about the Dodgers. We're not talking about the Yankees. But this guy is a big reason why I got into the Yankees in the first place, Yankees Unloaded, doing that show. But we actually used to stream, and I had people yesterday during my Q&A. People were like, "Hey, when are you going to do the gaming streams like you used to do?" It's like, this guy right here is the one I used to do the gaming streams with on Kick. So
we want to.
Yeah.
I'd say we're both interested. It's just a matter of time. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So everyone, please welcome my Eagles expert today, Gary Sheffield Jr.
Jake, what's up, man? I know that you're excited about this game, and you're what they call what do they call you? A homer? I don't consider you that. But people like to. You're the optimist, right? You were an optimist for the Rams throughout the last several years. And let's not forget, your coverage of the Rams has been, if things bounce the way that we want it, this is where we can go. We can go to the NFC Championship game. We can go to the Super Bowl. And people are like, no, we want to tank for Caleb Williams. Jake, don't forget.
You remembered that.
I do remember that. Don't forget that was the storyline. And I get it. Caleb Williams, super talented out of USC. You want more talent. But you were under the impression that Matthew Stafford was going to last a lot longer than what other people did, right? He had all the injury issues. You saw that with Detroit. You saw that at the beginning with the Rams. And you said, no, I can see it working out similar to Tom Brady, not to that extent, but I can see him playing well, 38, 39 years old. And here we are. Now Devontae Adams is calling him the Steph Curry of football, which is interesting to say. I'll let him have it. I watch Matthew Stafford play. I don't know if I get Steph Curry vibes, but some no-look throws, it'll play. So hopefully he doesn't do too much of that this weekend.
Yeah, he's the ageless wonder. But it's funny is it's always, oh wow, that was very Mahomesian. What?
Yeah.
He was doing it before Mahomes even was playing in high school. So it's
any cool play is it's always Mahomes-esque.
Yeah.
There were other players doing it before him. Did Mahomes do some cool stuff? Yeah. But
yeah, of course.
Matthew Stafford's been doing this. He was doing it in Detroit. No one cared. It was Detroit. They were losing football games, and people don't remember losers. They remember the winners. Since he became a Ram, he's now a winner.
It is true. I just wish he didn't play there to begin with. I
agree.
I wish it never happened, Gary. I say it all the time. Try not to be too negative. I try to be thankful for what I have, but it would have been a lot easier growing up as a Rams fan if Matthew Stafford was just the guy that they ended up with at some point. So, Rams-Eagles, because obviously, while we're friends, we also are enemies this week. We were kind of joking about this because we'll be doing Yankees Unloaded later tonight, and we'll be talking about our team. But it is funny though, because these two teams, the Eagles have the Rams number. I mean, if you look, it's 25-20-1. That's the all-time series the Eagles lead. But the last 10 times, Gary, the Eagles have won 9 of them. And I happen to fly 3,000 miles away to see the Eagles embarrass the Rams in primetime. And then the Rams were knocking on the door to win that game despite giving up over 200 yards to Saquon in a blizzard. Stafford's throwing 320 yards, and they don't get it done. And I've talked to 3 Rams since then. Cam Curl, the safety, Bobby Brown, who's now with the Carolina Panthers, and Ahkello Witherspoon, who you're so lucky he is not playing in this one.
Yeah.
All of them, I can tell you, were not happy. They're pissed, and I think they have every reason to be. And I think the Rams have come into this year with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, knowing that last year they could have won the Super Bowl, and we all know that divisional game, whoever won that was going to win the Super Bowl. Washington had no offensive line, so Washington fans always act like, well, if we didn't see the Eagles, we would have gone to L.A. and beaten the Rams. No, you would not have done that.
The Chiefs drafted a left tackle in the first round for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So we exposed something. That was the Super Bowl. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It was. And And I think I know without spoiling it here, I'm sure your audience is aware, you're choosing the Rams to win this game. I also am not, I shouldn't say I'm not hopeful, but I'm not as confident as I would like to believe I'd be, because the Eagles, in my opinion, at the end of the season will be the best team in football. They're not the best team in football right now, and that's okay. It's a learning process. It was last year. You see that with Kellen Moore. But you also see this year, you've got a new coordinator, Jake. I feel like we're having a repeat conversation. The Eagles have new coordinators, it seems like, every year.
Sounds
Kevin
like the
Patullo, hasn't got the pass offense going. So this is an advantage for the Rams. And the Rams, as the years have gone on, you said that we beat them 9 of the last 10 times. The Rams have actually had a stout rush defense. You mentioned yesterday, we were talking offline, that they're one of the only teams out there in football with any level of success against the tush push. Very physical football team. Now, do they want to run the type of game the Eagles are going to run where it's just smash mouth? No. They have a lot of talent out in the perimeter. They're going to use it. And the style of their quarterback, they're going to try and get it out there. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to say this, though. When I look at this offense, if the Rams come out and they're not stacking the box, they're not forcing Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. Hey, you saw it from Chris Jones this past weekend in a losing effort to the Eagles, and he's saying, hey, man, to Jalen Hurts, you only threw for about $120. And he said, yeah, but we won. Well, if you're the Rams, you cannot allow that to be the story in a loss. You have to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, which he's very capable. There's no question about that. But if he can hand the ball off 30 times and they'll win, they've shown they can do that as well. You can't let that happen. So that's what I'm worried about. I don't think there's any player on the Eagles that has over 70 receiving yards. That's not good. That's not success. I know they'd say this is our style of football. Not exactly. Things haven't exactly hit the ground running here, but the Eagles they're 2-0. They're happy with where they're at, but things can get a lot better. So I just told you, Jake, that I think this is the time the Rams want to run into the Eagles and not maybe a week 14, week 15 outing, but I guess we'll see how this goes and see what their game plan is across the way.
Yeah, no, we definitely will. And I think there are two teams that really respect each other, also two teams that know each other pretty well. Now, there are some differences, and make no mistake about it, the Rams respect the Eagles so much, they made sure this offseason to go out and try and fix this run defense. And you go out, you get Poona Ford, you get Nate Landman, right? I think that was really telling. Landman is somebody that has been huge for them in the first 2 games. He's turned into quite the sleeper star, if you will. But when it comes to the Rams, this is a team that since Sean McVay took over in 2017, this organization has had 3 different Super Bowl caliber teams, and they've been different, like actually different. You had Goff with Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald, and you had Aqib Talib kind of over the hill and Marcus Peters, and then you had like a Brandon Cooks, right? You had Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. But then you of course have to kind of change things up. You go with Stafford, and you get a Jalen Ramsey to come play for you, and you get Von Miller and OBJ, tags on. And this team, it's interesting because I get pushback from a lot of Rams fans because I had them number 1 in my power rankings. Now understand this. I had them number 1 in my power rankings because I do believe, whether it's right or wrong, I believe they're the best team in the NFL. And I think the big reason why I'm about to say this, and this is what I will say, and I always get pushback on, this is the best iteration of the Sean McVay Rams that we've seen. And the reason I say that is because it's not to say that they're, 22 starters are the best that they've had. That's actually not the reason I feel that way, Gary. And I think they're up there. The reason I feel that way is because they have depth all over the place. Losing your number 1 corner in Akello should kill this team. But it's not going to, because they already had a Darius Williams. They had a Kobe Durant. They have Emmanuel Forbes, right? They have what McVay called 4 starting cornerbacks. The offensive line's already going through issues. They're still 2-0. Like they've had issues at guard, like injuries. Their left tackle was dealing with blood clots all offseason. He hardly got any opportunity to get ready and rev up. We talk about that all the time on Yankees Unloaded, the rev up process for pitchers. Well, imagine being a left tackle in the NFL, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna practice that last week before the season, and good luck. You're going up against the best pass rushers in the game. Your first assignment, Will Anderson. That is not easy. So I feel like when I look at this team, there's just a lot of depth all across the board. I guess we'll start off here. Key matchups. The big one that I think is 100% going to be talked about. Jordan Mailata, who has a legitimate argument to be considered the best left tackle in football, against Jared Verse. So I want to ask you, because Jared Verse has been double teamed, triple teamed. I would make the argument that Jared Verse is in the best position he could be in, because you're not going to double him. You have Jordan Mailata going up against him. But what are your thoughts on that matchup?
Well, I'm gonna look at this from a standpoint of how the Eagles tend to go about this. They tend to run away from, right? If you're gonna run on that side of the if you're gonna be lining up over here, we're gonna single cover you. That's not a problem. The Eagles have shown talent wise we can handle that, but they're just not gonna run at you. They're gonna run to the opposite side of the field. And again, you can use this as an advantage when you're playing the Eagles, is that you can simply look at, and I know you posted this on Twitter, so I can't ignore it. You've talked about, okay, well, is this Jared Verse or is this Donald? Who am I looking at? Because I'm looking at a triple team right now. It shows you the level that he's playing at just as an individual talent, and it has to be respected. But when there's a Pro Bowler on the other end, you're like, okay, this guy can handle this one-on-one. Well, we'll see who the best man is. We're gonna see exactly what it is. There'll be no question, because it's really difficult to judge these players, Jake. And at least let's be fair here. When someone's triple team, you don't really know if any one player can handle this guy. You don't ever get to find that out. Aaron Donald, we never got to find that out. We never saw that. What does a one-on-one even look like? I don't even know how many one-on-ones you saw at the end of his career. I didn't see very many in big games, but in this situation, you just have to imagine that the Eagles are going to run away from him. They're going to try and throw the football. They're going to be trying to hit tight ends. They've been doing that. I mean, a tight end is second in targets this year in Dallas Goedert. So they're going to make sure this is a part of the game plan, and they're not just going to try to go 1v1. I don't think that's a smart way to play football, and well, I guess we'll see how that goes. But I had to pull up here your power rankings. I wanted to figure out, because I saw it was the Rams, and I didn't read too much into it, but I just knew when it said Rams, people were not going to like that. Nobody ever likes when somebody throws their own team at number one in the power rankings. They did the same thing for us when we put the Yankees up there at number one, but you have the Bills sitting at 2. That's interesting. And then I said the Packers. Remember, I said the Packers would be in the NFC Championship, but I guess we'll see, right? But anywho, Jared Verse, what do you see from this matchup? Because I know you were telling me about him before he ever arrived. Let's be real about this. You were, again, you were seen as an optimist, someone who was in past your skis. You were overzealous, some said, about this player. And then you fast forward a year or two, and you're like, oh, hold on a second. This guy's one of the best players in football. Do you think the Eagles are going to be spinning him double teams? Because I just don't know if I see that based on how they've played in the past.
I don't. I think there's a really interesting thing here, because it's funny how a player, you could say, Jared Verse, for instance, as great as he is, why would you rather have him go against a bad left tackle or a good left tackle? And I would say a good left tackle 100 out of 100 times. If you go up against a good left tackle, now I know most likely there's not going to be a double team there. There's not going to be a chip option, right? And the whole point of that really is when you look, right, you have a bad left tackle. Well, now that is part of the game plan. That is known. So your offensive coordinator is going to make sure, hey, chip that guy every single time, right? So I feel like this is an opportunity for Jared Verse the first time this year where he's not going to face double and triple teams. Because the Eagles, they have a lot of confidence in their offensive line, and I mean, rightfully so. But I really, I'm excited for that matchup. I think it's really good for football to be able to see, an old school left tackle go against an old school outside linebacker. And
could
let's be
also,
honest
by
here,
the way, be a little bit of an eye opener too, because
that's true.
There's no guarantee 1v1 who's winning this matchup. Now, obviously, we're sitting here in a Rams podcast. Most people say, well, Jared Verse he's him. He's going to win this matchup, but this is why they play, right? And they're going to see exactly who wins 1v1 in this matchup. But I would agree with you. I think they're going to play this one-on-one. I will say that they'll chip a little bit, right? They're going to pay attention to this matchup. They're not just going to ignore who Jared Verse is. But to simply say that they're going to be game planning their number one thing on their mind is what do we do at left tackle? Not against the Eagles. This is why they've built their team this way. Other teams, we're not sure why they build in other ways, not prioritizing the line, because you have this opportunity against Jared Verse to go 1v1. That's an opportunity. Gives you more bodies elsewhere. And this just creates problems having to triple team one player as talented as he is. So I guess I'm curious, because if this is a 1v1 and this holds up, that's certainly going to help the Eagles pass offense. It just is. You clearly need more time. You need to be more creative. And how creative can you get when you've got three dudes blocking one player?
Yeah, and then, you look over at, the other side, right? And you go to the right side. And this isn't a guy I normally would be talking about. Now, I think he's really good. He's always been good, right? But Jared Verse got there, and no one was talking about him. And it's Byron Young, who right now, Byron Young is probably the MVP of the Rams defense. He's been sensational. Now, keep this in mind. And I'm not an idiot, and I'm not ignorant. Byron Young's also gone up against some not so great right tackles, right? And you look at last week, Oli Udoh was horrendous. He's so bad. Like, it was kind of funny. I also called this. So on Downtown Rams, Gary, I literally go, yep, Byron Young, give me 3 sacks. He had 2. He had like 5 or 6 pressures. He was all over the place, right? So it's funny to me, but this is the real test. This is what we call a barometer for Byron Young. Because if Byron Young going against one of the greatest right tackles to ever play in the sport, and that's saying something, and saying a lot more than people realize, because I don't know if you know this, you probably do. Lane Johnson is different, but also right tackle actually used to be the best tackle position back in the day. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Your best tackle was the right tackle, and now it's the left. But pretty much all the top tackles, Jackie Slater, like those guys played at right tackle. So that's saying a lot when you say Lane Johnson is one of the greatest right tackles ever. But he is, and he's so consistent. He doesn't give up too many pressures. This is going to be a huge test for Byron Young. You go back to the Philly game last year, and Byron Young had 2 pressures in that game, right? So Byron Young also has won like 30. It's almost like a 30% of his win rate, right? Snap rate. He won 11.8% in the last game. So we're going to see, because Sean McVay said he took the next step. I think that is a huge, huge matchup between those two, because if that works and Jared Verse works, the Rams have always been notorious for having a defensive line. Everyone knows they have a defensive line. Kobe Turner, right? Braden Fisk, although, to be fair, Braden Fisk is dealing with an oblique. Don't know what that's going to entail. Poona Ford, like I mentioned, Ty Davis. So they got some guys in the trenches, but those tackle spots, much like the first 2 games of the year, they could decide this game.
Yeah, and you mentioned Byron Young, and my earlier answer about what the Eagles are going to do with Jared Verse, I said they're going to single cover him. They're going to single block this man. They're going to run the opposite way. Okay, well, if Byron Young's sitting on the other side of the field, they're going to be running the ball. Let's not act like because the Eagles and their new coordinator want to get the ball rolling in the air, that doesn't mean they're throwing the ball 45 times. That's not what's going to happen. The Eagles are going to run the football. I'm curious to see what Byron Young does in the run defense. I'm curious to see how he helps stop the run, because if you can stop the Eagles on first down, you're going to have success. That's where turnovers can become an issue. And Jake, we were talking about it. It was really my one takeaway with this game. I was hoping it didn't turn into just a tush-push conversation. post game. That's not what I want. And well, I'm sure we'll talk about the tush push here today. But it is, if you're a Rams fan, you don't need pressures on Jalen Hurts from the right side when you've got it from the left. One guy you're going to be paying hundreds of millions of dollars guaranteed to do that. And there's nothing wrong with it on the other side, but you're going to have to stop the run. That's going to be mission number one for the Rams. You can do that. You can have success against the Eagles. Much easier said than done. This is football. You stop one thing, it becomes easier to stop another. But the Eagles won a Super Bowl for a reason. They tend to be more physical than the average football team. You saw that last year in the playoffs, 1v1. And you mentioned that when I was talking to you, this is before I ever wanted to cover football, but you said, I really believe if we can stop Saquon Barkley, if we can stop the run attack, we can win this football game. Well, the backbreaker was on the ground. And it's just no coincidence there. So I'll be curious to see what the Rams do on first down. That's going to be the most important thing they do all day. If Jalen Hurts is looking at 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4s all day, it's going to be a long day. And I can almost guarantee that pass offense is going to get going. But you get them in, you're talking 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, where it gets a little bit more predictable how you're going about your business offensively. The Eagles can run into problems. And also Jalen Hurts has a bit of a fumbling issue. I know people only like to cover that Rams running backs like to fumble the football. Jalen Hurts also has somewhat of a fumbling problem when he gets sacked, so you have to keep that in mind heading into this game. It's something to pay attention to, but I won't cause for concern until it is.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a peanut punch from Nate Landman. Hopefully we do see something like that. I know you probably disagree. Obviously you disagree, but he did that. Yeah, right. You saw he did that week 1, right? Did you see that?
Did. Yes.
Dude,
I sure did. And it's something that it's obviously frustrating because every time you see someone fumble, you're like, how do you fumble in the NFL? But these guys are paid a lot of money to play the football.
Yeah.
This isn't college. I know every once in a while, every blue moon, every 10, 15 years, we see a player who actually plays the football, Tyrann Mathieu at LSU, and it stands out. Well, everyone is Tyrann Mathieu in the NFL. They are playing the football. They're trying to wreak havoc, cause turnovers, unforced errors, forced errors, you name it. The NFL is a tough league for a reason. So I'm going to be paying attention to the turnovers in this game. Obviously, the Eagles know if we're going to run the football 30 times, we've got to hang on to the ball. But also, if you want to get your pass offense going, you also need to hang on to the ball against this defense.
No, that's for certain. And, I think looking at one of the ones I really want to talk about, because, you could say what you will about, the run game, and we did talk about the run game. And obviously Saquon Barkley is the guy to key in on. But there is nothing more devastating to Rams fans because Saquon Barkley did not end that game. Rams stormed down the field, and they had an opportunity to win the game. It was Jalen Carter who sealed the deal. And he is somebody that can just wreck a game. The Rams' interior pass protection has not been great. Here's the kicker, though. Stafford's been getting rid of the ball quicker than he's ever gotten rid of it before. And that is really kind of what has allowed them to hide it. But the offensive line has done a really nice job up front blocking in the run game. And we still haven't really seen the effects of that, but when you watch the tape, you're like, oh, okay, they're getting pushed in the run game every time. Pass protection's a little bit different, right? Last year, you had Bo Limmer at center against Jalen Carter. Bad, miscommunication on a stunt, and there you have it. But this year, you have a tactician, kind of undersized, Coleman Shelton. I mean, it's a really tough mismatch because the physicality just simply isn't on the same level. Kevin Dotson isn't 100%. Last week was probably his worst game as a Ram. And Steve Avila, their left guard, might not play. So what do you make of, that interior against Jalen Carter, against Jordan Davis, all these guys, in the trenches, Ajomo, who's really underrated for the Eagles?
That's going to be a problem. I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean to sound biased, and none of that. I think that will be a problem The Rams, though, they should know. It's just not as simple as, oh, you're going to dominate there, I'll just go somewhere else. Well, you want to get some action going in the middle of the field. And I think a lot of times when people watch football, they always tend to put such a major emphasis on the edges. But when there's such penetration down the middle of the football field, well, you're now forced to go outside the numbers. Well, guess what? The Rams, their roster is pretty much built to go outside the numbers, right? And maybe not the entire game, but they have an ability to go outside the numbers on first down, on second down, and get themselves in better position where these guys in the middle of the field don't have as much of an impact. Now, for most teams, they don't have two potential Pro Bowlers on the outside where they can say, all right, well, we can just flip the ball out to them. When we saw that in the Super Bowl, and I remember obviously watching the Eagles play the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, and you're saying, okay, well, what are they going to do to stop this defensive line? Tom Brady's going to be on the ground all day. And I'm listening to what they're saying, and they're saying, well, we're going to get the ball out quick. And I'm like, well, that's easier said than done. Everyone always says they're going to get the ball out. Well, they decided we're just going to be running swing passes here, screen plays there. And next thing you know, I've thrown the ball 50, 60 times. How much pass rush can you possibly get up the middle then? How much penetration, what type of energy do you have now? And by the third and fourth quarter, they really weren't a factor. The Fletcher Cox, those guys really were not impactful in that football game, despite an absolute mismatch. So is that to say that the Rams will successfully get the ball outside on the perimeter? No. This is the National Football League. It's very difficult to do that. It's not just pitch and catch. But also, Jake, we talked about before we went live, Adoree Jackson is going to be also a factor. Adoree Jackson, he's going to be a factor there as far as pass coverage. And who did you say that matchup was again?
Puka
Nacua. So who do you think is getting the football? Who's going to be their first option? As good as Devontae Adams is, he's great. It's not like that matchup. That matchup is as opportunistic as it gets. The 30-year-old Jackson, he should be having his way in that. So I'm curious to see what the Rams do on first down. If they're not successful in their drives early on in this game, the Eagles are going to get comfortable, and you're going to start seeing even more dominance in the middle of the field. But if they can successfully get the ball outside, get the chains moving, get the tempo of this game moving, you're going to start seeing Carter and Davis. You're going to start seeing some hands on their hips. That's where it is advantage Rams. So again, much easier said than done. But we'll know, I think, the outcome of this game about 15 minutes in. We'll see what the style looks like.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Except the Rams, they've actually been trailing in both games to start the year. I don't know why they trailed that game.
Which is interesting, especially in that Titans game. That's wild.
Yeah, it's weird. The Titans game, they dominated the first half, and then there was, believe it or not, on a fourth down, it wasn't really close. Cam Ward was stopped, and they're like, you know how they keep telling us about how they have the Hawkeye? They didn't use it. So they were just like, first down. And we're like, what? And then they didn't review. No, they reviewed it, and then they're like, it's inconclusive. They're like, what is happening? And then I didn't get a chance to see
that. I'll probably be able to go watch that. I didn't get a chance to see the end of that game.
Bad.
But I did see how the first half was going, and obviously it was shocking, right? And you know what I think of the Rams. Do I think the Rams are a better football team than the Eagles? Maybe today, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe in today's matchup. And I even was going over your guys' schedule, and I'm sitting here saying to myself, these are the teams you want to see early in the season. You don't want to see some of these teams with these type of rosters, week 15, week 16, when they finally hit the ground running. This is nice for the Rams. So again, not wishing you guys any luck at all. Just want you guys to be healthy. That's pretty much it.
Same here.
But this, I would say, the Rams should be dominated in this football game in the trenches in the middle of the field when it comes to the Eagles defense. It's just a matter of what type of adjustment are they going to make? Are they going to be getting the ball out quick? And you just talked about it, that's been a prerequisite of their offense, but doesn't mean it's going to happen every week. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and this is the thing where you had Cooper Kupp last year, and I keep bringing it up, and I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse at this point, but as much as, Rams fans loved Cooper Kupp, and I was definitely one of them and appreciate everything he did, Cooper Kupp isn't the same Cooper Kupp. He's still a good player, but they were asking him at the end of the year to be an X receiver. He is not an X receiver. The X receiver is Davante Adams this year, a guy that can beat any sort of man coverage whatsoever. No matter who you line up against him, he can beat him. I hate to break it to you. I've watched a lot of Davante Adams tape because I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be a Ram quarterback. Keep that in mind. That wasn't that long ago. So I watched a lot of Jets football, and I will tell you, when I was watching the tape, I was like, Rodgers still has it, but Davante Adams, if he's lost a step, I don't see where he's lost it. He is still that guy off the line of scrimmage. He's still that double move guy, the rocker step, everything. And he can just absolutely create separation on you. It doesn't matter who you are. So Quinion Mitchell has his work cut out for him. Adoree Jackson against Puka Nacua, it doesn't matter who you put against Puka Nacua, because Puka Nacua, while you have on one hand, you have the X receiver and Davante Adams who could beat man. Well, now you have a zone beater in Puka Nacua. And not only does he beat zone, he crushes zone because he's now a running back with the ball in his hands. Hard to bring down, but he's so smart and conscientious that he finds that soft spot in the zone. He'll sit down there, he'll take a hit and just keep going. He's special, man. I know you were in love with him. I sent you the remember we were doing the preview.
Yeah, you sent me a preview, and I think it was like a 14 or 15 catch day where I practically stood up. I did stand up out of my chair. By the way, speaking of these matchups, and there are a couple of those matchups, specifically Jackson on the outside, a 30-year-old cornerback. Yeah. He's going to be getting blitzed all night. They're going to be throwing after him all day. But having said that, the spotlight I want to put on the Eagles defense is rookie linebacker Jahad Campbell. I'm going to be curious to see, because this tends to be the largest test that you'll ever face as a linebacker. When you have a couple mismatches on either side of the field, and you mentioned that Adams is now the clear-cut X receiver, well, who are you helping on? And there's no wrong decision. It's sometimes you need to use your football IQ, which he displayed in college. I want to see the type of decision-making he makes, because he's looked awesome so far this season. So love everything I'm seeing. Love him, what he's doing in pursuit of running backs, coming out of the backfield. But this is going to be more so a test of decision-making pre-snap. Who do I follow? Who do I help? And you're not just going to be able to leave guys on islands and beat the Rams this week. So that'll be a lot of fun. Do not be surprised at all if you see Jahad Campbell near the football this week.
No. Jahad Campbell, loved him coming out of Alabama. We actually talked about that a little bit before one of our Yankees Unloaded episodes. I was like, yeah, I think the Eagles got a good one. I don't know how he fell as far as he did. The same teams keep messing up, and that's why they keep picking so high, right? But anyway, Campbell, number 30, for those of you that are wondering, he's going to be everywhere. So I'm expecting he's been really good in coverage. Doesn't surprise me. That's what I expected. The thing I will say about this game is we've talked about how the Eagles can bleed the clock. We talked about how the Rams can get off to good starts. The Rams lead the league in explosive plays with 19. The Rams also lead the league in points allowed with 14, per game. So, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. And then in addition to that, so 14 per game, but they also have only given up one touchdown in 20 drives. So they've done a really, really nice job, and they're number 2 in defensive value over average, only behind the Packers. So when you look at this Rams team, they got a lot going for them. Here's the thing. Both these teams are kind of similar, because while they're very different in a lot of aspects, their defense, the Rams defense, is actually derived a little bit from the Fangio scheme. And of course, Vic Fangio was your defensive coordinator. So by virtue of that, if the Rams continue to do what they do, and I'll tell you right now, Ahkello Witherspoon is a significant loss, so him not playing, I'm not expecting them to run the exact same defense that they've run, okay? With that said, they have played a ton of cover 3, and so have the Eagles. And how do you beat cover 3? As you mentioned, getting the ball out quickly, throwing to the flat. That's how you can do it. You can also do it by hitting the seams. Tight ends.
Yeah, you don't have to be as aggressive as you think, because when you mention the explosive plays from the Rams, people tend to think, oh, we're hitting the X receiver for a fly. We're hitting that deep post. Yeah, those are the big sexy plays, but This game, it's going to be more pitch and catch, what you've seen from the Chiefs over the years of, let me hit this slot receiver, right? Let's get the ball moving. That's aggressiveness. That's still aggressiveness in its own right. You're going to find yourself in the red zone if you continue to play the game that way. But it is definitely a major mistake for the Rams to get overzealous and just launch the ball down the field. There's just no need for it. You need to get this tempo going. And I would say if they can do that and stay disciplined with their offense, they should have no problem moving and getting guys tired on the defense of the Eagles. But much easier said than done, because when you look at someone like the Eagles and this team's struggling to score. They haven't thrown a touchdown the entire season. A.J. Brown, although he's saying the right things in the media, somewhat disgruntled, right? He wants the football. There's no question about that. They're going to be trying to get the ball to him. Well, when you're playing from behind, you can tend to compound mistakes, and you mentioned that earlier, Jake. So, for the Rams, they have to stay disciplined, bend, don't break defense. And you have to imagine you've got to dare the Eagles to throw the ball in the red zone. Teams haven't done that successfully yet. They've still found ways to surrender really useless yardage defensively. And I don't know. I think as far as the prediction, what did you have for the score of this game? Because I'm not exactly sure what I expect to change for the Eagles just yet, because I do anticipate this is going to take some time, maybe 5 or 6 weeks to really hit the ground, just like last season. But what did you have this game, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, with how often you play cover 3, I'm expecting to see some shot plays. If Stafford has time. And I'm thinking Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington will be the benefactors of, the middle of the field. And I think we're going to see those guys get involved more, because there's going to be a key in, or they might even bracket a Puka Nacua, somebody, whatever, right? And I think it's going to open up opportunities to Tutu Atwell. They paid $10 million to, and he has 1 catch. So, I think this is the week where they probably let him loose a little bit. I'm excited to see what they do in the run game. And the reason being is last week, I think they kind of activated something that they haven't had. They used, Blake Corum a little bit more. And you saw Corum, he's lost 6 pounds in the offseason. You could see it. He's a little bit quicker, quick twitch athlete. And then Kyron, they asked him to gain some weight. And I think you see that where he's able to run with more power. And so I think they complement each other well. And Sean McVay has talked about a 65-35 split. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious to see how that works. I think they found something last week, and I just want to see them build upon it. But yeah, I think the Rams are going to win this game. And yes, I am looking at, Devontae Adams and Quinion Mitchell. I'm looking at Puka Nacua, Dory Jackson. I'm looking at A.J. Brown versus Darius Williams. And, you can't forget about Devontae Smith versus what I believe will be, Kobe Durant. But, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Emmanuel Forbes in there. I think the Rams, you said it, before we went live, the Rams are playing the Eagles at the right time. That said, I'm definitely not trying to shortchange what the Rams can be at the end of the year, because I think they're going to be absolutely dangerous. But I think they've already found so much. And I think right now they're riding high. The only team that has beaten them in the last, I think I saw like 12 games, 11 games, the Eagles, twice. That's it.
Yep.
So I feel like this is kind of, we just talked about this on Yankees Unloaded. The Yankees had to bludgeon the monkey, get it off their back and bludgeon it, right? And then they could become who they were supposed to be. And they finally did. They won the series against the Red Sox, and lo and behold, no one expected that, right? And now here they are. They're in a position where, they're in their position. Well, I think the Rams, who have done this before, mind you, with the 49ers back in the Super Bowl season, I think they're going to get that monkey off their back, and I think they're going to finally beat the Eagles. And it's going to be the second time Sean McVay's beaten the Eagles. The first time was when Carson Wentz was playing in Philly, and it was the COVID year. But I think the Rams are going to win this game 24-21, Gary. I think that they are going to be able to run the football. They're going to open up play action. And when that play action gets opened up, I think Stafford's going to continue to do his thing. And I watched that Chiefs game. Tyquan Thornton is not a world beater, and he was open a lot in the secondary. I said it coming into the year, you can throw on this secondary. They're going to probably have to trade for somebody at the deadline. They're going to have to hope teams get bad quickly and they can go and maybe get like a Denzel Ward or somebody like that. But yeah, I really I think the Rams are going to win this game, and I think we're going to see some all hands on deck approach. So, we'll see what ends up happening. My hope is that, obviously win the game, but my hope is that, they get their second round rookie involved, Terrence Ferguson. He finally played some offensive snaps last week, but they said they would have picked him at 26. So I want to start seeing that. If you actually would have picked him at 26, I want to see him play in week 3. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I am a bit worried about Kevin Patullo now. Mm-hmm. Not worried long term, right? And you saw this previous coordinators with the Eagles is how are they going to get the run game? When are you going to start utilizing the run game to the best of its ability? When are you going to start utilizing these Ferraris that we've got in the receiving core? Well, that takes time. This isn't Madden. You don't just get to turn on the game and it's on rookie mode and you just hit the X receiver down the field. It's difficult, man. It is. You have to scheme these guys open sometimes, and obviously when you have zone beaters in a Puka Nacua, that certainly helps. But the Eagles are going to find their way offensively. Throwing the ball is not going to be a problem all year. It is right now. But that said, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people are expecting. Maybe America thinks that the Eagles are going to come out and just bludgeon the Rams because they won last year. And that was an end of the game, end of the season football game. But having said that, right now, I think the Eagles are going to have success running the ball early in this game. I just do. They're built the way they're built for a reason. But that said, later in the game, I think the Rams are going to find their way offensively. You mentioned that maybe Tua Atwell will find a way to the one catch can't survive forever, right?
No.
It just can't.
Hopefully not.
And given the state of the Eagles secondary, which really has one major weak link, he's going to find a way to make an impact in a negative way in this game. So the Rams just have to figure out when's that time to take that shot, and they'll be waiting all game to make it. That said, I think the Rams successfully will do that sometime late in the third quarter or early on in the fourth, and the Eagles are going to be asked to go down and score a touchdown, and they're not built right now to go ahead and do that. Now, is it possible? Absolutely. They can run it down anyone's throat with success. You guys saw that. But I'll be interested to see what they do in the air in the fourth quarter. I have a pretty good feeling the football is going to be in the hands of Jalen Hurts to drop back 3 or 4 times a possession, 3 or 4 times before moving the chains. You're going to have to throw us to a win. I'm not sure they're ready for exactly that yet. So I'm going to say the Rams win this football game. I'll say 27. I'll go 27-16.
Wow.
Very interesting score. Only reason I say that, I think the Eagles are going to kick a lot of field goals in this game. So if you guys got Jake Elliott on your football team, you can go ahead and plop him in there. I think the Eagles are going to struggle to score in the red zone. I think they'll be there often. They just won't punch it in.
Oh, man. I hope you didn't just jinx the Rams' chances of winning this game, because the first two, so I had Cole Thompson on to cover Houston.
Yeah.
And he picked Houston to win.
Okay.
And then I had Justin Mello on, and he picked the Titans to win. So,
what a surprise. Everyone picks their own team to win every time. Yep. So, and mind you guys, I get it, because when you cover these teams, you're going to try and look for, at least when the team's 2-0, why would you look for what's wrong? I don't really look at the Eagles and say, what's wrong with this team? I look at it as what's wrong right now. And you have to operate under today's conditions going into the weekend. Now, if you ask me the question, who do I think the better football team is? I think the Eagles are a better football team in week 17, but that's not where we're at. So I'm interested to see what happens. I want to see what the Eagles do in the red zone. I think that'll tell me what I need to see. I think they'll move just fine in this game, but will they be able to move the ball in the air once things start to tighten up? You're not just going to be able to run the ball down their throat all the way down there on the field. I don't see that happening against the Rams. I want to see what Hurts does. Can't wait to see it.
A lot of stars in this game, Gary.
Yeah.
Speaking of stars, StreamYard starred this because we got a super chat from Alex. What's up, Alex? Thank you for the $5. 3 keys to victory. 1, contain the running game. Barkley and Hurts. I agree with that. Definitely agree on that. Number 2, unleash Puka and Tay. And 3, fire Baboon.
People in this channel are like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, I know. Yankees Unloaded inside joke, I guess. But it's Go Rams this Sunday. So love Chef Dog, but it's Go Rams this Sunday. Appreciate you, Alex. Before we head on out of here, just a quick word. Sleeper, shout out to you guys for sponsoring, of course, this video and every video. And if you guys haven't already, fantasy football, daily fantasy. I mean, I always say, put your money where your mouth is, right? So if you think Tutu Atwell scoring a touchdown like I do this weekend, put down Tutu Atwell scoring a touchdown. Put more than 0.5 touchdowns, right?
What do they have the line at, by the way?
For touchdowns?
No, just overall in the score and the spread.
I'd
be curious to know.
I think it's 3.5. But yeah, be sure to use code JKB and get $100 deposit when you matched up to $100. So again, $100 deposit, match up to $100 using the code JKB. And check out Sleeper. Link is in the description below. Yeah, I think it's 3.5, Gare. I don't know.
I think it says Eagles minus 3.5. So
yeah,
with that being the case, at the very least, you should be taking the Rams to cover in this game.
Yeah,
at least I would.
Yeah, I think the Rams, they I have 24-21, so they're 2-0 against the spread. So we'll see. But I think really kind of everything that we touched on. I just really want to see a good game. I would hate to see another, the game that I was at. Hope to God we don't get that. Also, shout out to the NFL for totally botching the schedule in this game. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much they messed up the scheduling on this game. How is this game not like prime time? Like, how is this not 4:25 so everybody can... This is not on... I found this out. This is not on nationally. Did you know?
I'm on the West Coast. This is a 10 a.m. game for me. I'll get my breakfast omelet and watch Eagles Rams.
Yeah, well, there you go. Did you know, Gary? This is crazy. Okay, so the Rams. I just saw the for upstate New York. This is not a nationally televised game. In upstate New York, it's on Fox, right?
Okay.
So I just read that the Jets and Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be on here if I didn't have the package. Like, can you believe that?
Who wants to see that?
I don't think the Jets want to see that. I mean, Tampa fans are probably okay with that, but
Tampa's an entertaining football team. I'll be honest. I'm not going to act like, and mind you, my family's got season tickets to go see the Tampa Bay Bucks, so I know what they've got going on over there with Baker and the whole crew. Great.
Yeah.
How about some feel and some context? This is the perfect opportunity to throw it on national coverage. I would even say this is the perfect time. New coordinator, early in the season, team just won the Super Bowl. This is the perfect time for the NFL to say, let's put the Rams on national coverage. They're going to go win this football game. And now Rams fans are feeling like there's a genuine competition for who's the best team in the NFC. And we're legitimately better. Now, that may not be true, and I don't think it's true. But having said that, perfect opportunity to prove that week 3. And they punted on that. So weird choice. Obviously, I don't make the schedules. We just live with it. But I'll see you bright and early. Yeah.
So it's Lions-Ravens Monday Night Football. I mean, I'm not as high on the Lions, but I understand where they were going with that. That's not. Yeah. I don't have any issue with that game.
No problem with it.
Chiefs-Giants. Sunday Night. I have no idea what they were thinking. Genuinely no idea what they were thinking.
The Chiefs, the way they're built, obviously not having, Xavier Worthy. It's not as fun to watch them. They're not the most fun football team to watch in its own right. I'm not sure. I get why the Chiefs are on national coverage. I completely understand it. They get to the championship game. They get to the Super Bowl. Often, people hate people who win all the time. and I understand it. But some of these games, why is Rams, Eagles not on national coverage? Jake, I'd like to say there's people a lot smarter than me making these choices. Sometimes we make choices I just don't get.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But that's going to do it. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and getting to know the Eagles a little bit. Although, you guys know your stuff. I'm not saying it. But hey, we had an expert in here. He's a really good, one of my best friends, honestly. I'm lucky to be doing content with him anytime I do. And you guys probably don't know this, but we are about to have our 330th episode of Yankees Unloaded tonight. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know that. I know it's down there. And no, BC,
not here, but yeah.
This was not pre-recorded. This is absolutely live. So if you guys are with us right this second, we are here right this second.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. Jake, thank you for the shout out. Of course, I'm just a jabroni who's going to be covering the Eagles this year for the first time ever. I convinced Jake to cover the Yankees. I said, no, you know enough about the Yankees. I think you can really do it. And then now he's returning the favor and making me cover football. All the sponsors are in football, so now I've got to go cover football. So here we are.
Heard that once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, we really do appreciate you. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Also, be sure to check out @Gary Sheffield Jr. on social media. Really, you should be following. You should have already been following him. By the way, I don't know if we did last year. I don't think we did anything last year because I had to. We didn't, right? For the Eagles?
For what? No, we didn't do anything, no.
No, because it was tough because I had the trip. So we did it in 2023. That's right, because you were like this Puka Nacua guy. Like you were obsessed.
Yeah, this was definitely 2023. This is before the streaming days, and we'll be doing it more often this year.
Yeah, so
and hopefully in the playoffs.
Hopefully, yes. So we appreciate you guys. Again, go follow my guy Gary, and I'll see you guys soon.